She used to wake up crying. Not loudly, not dramatically, just these soft, choked little whimpers into the pillow. Like she was trying not to wake me, but failing. I remember the first time I reached out to her in the dark, gently pulling her toward me, whispering, "It's okay. I'm here." She didn't say much that night, just buried her face in my chest and whispered, "I'm still healing." At the time, that sentence felt sacred. A fragile truth held between two people trying to build something real. She told me early on, maybe too early, about her past. The man who broke her down slowly over years. The cheating, the gaslighting, the shame. I hated him instantly, without ever knowing his name. I saw the way her hands trembled when she talked about trust. I thought I understood, and I swore I would never be that man. It became a sort of rhythm between us. She'd have moments of distance, flinches, silences, nights spent facing away from me in bed, and I'd chalk it up to healing. Her version of it wasn't linear, she explained. It came in waves, like grief. And I respected that. I made room for it. Looking back now, I'm not sure if I was being compassionate or just willfully blind. We'd been together a little over a year when the small lies started. A work trip that didn't show up on her calendar. A friend's party I only heard about after it happened. I'm not the jealous type. I've never believed that love should come with surveillance. But something started to feel off. The worst part? I didn't want to question her. Not because I trusted her fully, not anymore, but because I didn't want to be that guy. The controlling one. The suspicious one. I wanted to be safe. Steady. The man who held her through nightmares, not the one who caused them. That was the trap. One night, after she came home late from a self-care weekend in the mountains, she walked in wearing a different kind of peace. She looked satisfied, not like someone who'd just had a massage or meditated under stars. No, this was a different glow, one I recognized from years of loving her body, even when she didn't always love it herself. She kissed me hello, too quickly, and disappeared into the shower. Something in me hesitated. I told myself to let it go, but I didn't. While she was in the bathroom, I noticed her bag was still open on the bed. Normally, she was meticulous. This time, something had spilled out. A pack of mints, her phone charger, and a receipt. A simple little square of thermal paper, half faded, but the logo stood out. Hillcrest Inn and Spa. Not in the mountains. Not even close. It was 20 minutes from our house. The room number was printed on it. 114. And the timestamp? It matched the same night she told me she'd been hiking under a full moon with friends. I stood there, holding the receipt, the sound of water hitting tile in the background, and something inside me cracked. Not exploded, just cracked. Quietly, like ice under slow pressure. I didn't confront her that night. I placed the receipt back exactly where I found it. Slid the charger and mints back inside. Zipped the bag shut. When she came out in her robe, hair damp, I kissed her on the forehead and asked how her retreat had been. She smiled. Healing. That word again. Healing. It haunted me. Over the next few weeks, I started noticing patterns. Her mood would spike in these strange ways. Euphoric, distracted, then suddenly distant. She'd disappear into text threads she wouldn't explain. Say things like, "It's just work stuff," or "My friend's going through something." She guarded her phone like it was the last secret in the world. Still, I waited. I watched her hands. I listened to the words she didn't say. And I thought about the man from her past. The one she said damaged her so deeply she couldn't trust again. I started to wonder, what if he wasn't just in her past? One day, while she was in the shower again, funny how many turning points begin there, her phone buzzed. Normally, she kept it face down, locked tight. But this time, by chance or by fate, the screen lit up. The name caught my eye. Eli. I didn't know an Eli, but the preview of the message sent a jolt through me. Last night was everything. I miss you already. The rest was hidden behind the preview bubble. My heart was pounding in my throat, but my hands moved calmly. I took a photo of the screen. Then I did something I'm not proud of. I opened her phone using her passcode. I knew it. Of course I did. Love learns habits like that. The thread was vivid. Not graphic, but intimate. Deeply intimate. It wasn't just sex. It was longing. It was old memories. They referenced places I'd never been with her. Inside jokes I didn't recognize. Songs they used to play. And then it hit me. This wasn't a fling. This was him. Eli wasn't a new man. He was the man. The ghost she said she was healing from. The one who'd hurt her. The one who'd made her afraid of love. The one she said she'd never speak to again. And now here he was, still inside her life, still inside her. I dropped the phone on the bed like it burned. I stared at the bathroom door, steam curling out from underneath it, and I remember thinking, she's singing. She was singing in the shower. And I was sitting there, surrounded by the shrapnel of a lie so beautiful, so carefully crafted, it had convinced even her. Maybe that was the worst part. Maybe she believed she was healing, all while bleeding right back into the wound. I didn't move. I didn't speak. I just sat still. Still as a man listening to a song he'll never hear the same way again. The hardest part wasn't the lie itself. It was realizing how much of our love, or what I thought was love, had been shaped around a wound that never closed. A wound she never wanted to close. I didn't confront her that night. I couldn't. I needed to understand the full shape of it first. The depth. The history. The next morning, I told her I had an early meeting. I left before the sun came up, but I didn't go to work. I sat in my car outside a coffee shop with a legal pad in my lap and wrote one word at the top. Eli. Then I started a list. Dates she'd disappeared. Excuses she gave. Times she'd come home late, smiling but too quiet. Trips that didn't line up. Receipts I hadn't noticed before. And the timeline formed itself, slowly, cruelly. He never left her life. The breakup, the so-called trauma, it wasn't a clean cut. It was a thread she never stopped pulling. She'd painted him as this monster who made her scared to trust again. But somewhere in her heart, that fear must have twisted into longing. Or maybe it always was. Maybe I was never more than a balm to ease her transition back to him. Over the next few days, I started digging deeper. I wasn't proud of it. The passwords, the snooping, the secret photos I took of her messages when she left her phone unattended. But I had to know. I needed to know who I'd been sharing my life and my bed with. One night, she fell asleep on the couch, curled up in a blanket, her laptop open beside her. I should have left it alone. I know that. But curiosity isn't just a temptation, it's a trap. She was still logged into her email. There were dozens of threads with him. Some recent, some going back months, a few years. That was when I saw the truth. She never stopped talking to him. Not even in the early months of our relationship. Not even when she'd tell me how safe I made her feel, how I was the first man who treated her right. There was one message I read 3 times, trying to convince myself it said something else. I'm trying to heal, but every time I'm with him, it just makes me miss you more. Him, me? You, Eli. She sent that the week after she moved in with me. It hit like a punch to the ribs. Not the anger, not yet, just the hollow silence of being replaced without knowing. I closed the laptop, quietly, gently. She stirred a little, but didn't wake. I stood there, looking down at her face, peaceful, soft, like she belonged in some quiet painting. And for the first time since we met, I didn't feel love. I felt pity. Not for her. For myself. Because I had spent a year loving a version of someone who never truly showed up. I was the man she told herself she should love. The one who made sense. The one who ticked the boxes. But love isn't a checklist. And healing? Healing doesn't come from keeping your wounds open so someone else can bandage them again and again. The next morning, I made her coffee. The same way I always did. 1 sugar, a splash of almond milk. She kissed my cheek and said, "You're too good to me." And I just nodded. I didn't have the words yet. Instead, I started planning my exit. Not to hurt her. Not to catch her in some dramatic act. I didn't want a scene. I didn't want revenge. I just wanted out with my dignity intact. I opened a private bank account. Moved small amounts every few days so nothing would look suspicious. I started packing things I wouldn't miss. My books, my tools, my grandfather's watch, and storing them in a rented unit across town. Quietly. Carefully. She didn't notice. Or maybe she did and didn't care. She started staying out late again. More self-care nights. More friends I'd never meet. She stopped asking me about my day. Stopped touching me. But she kept whispering that word whenever I pressed, healing. Like it was a spell to keep me quiet. But the spell had broken. The final crack came 2 weeks later, on a Sunday afternoon. We were cleaning out the garage, half laughing about how many boxes we'd never unpacked since she moved in. I found one marked, old journals. She tried to take it from me quickly, too quickly. Said it was private. Said it was embarrassing. But by then, I wasn't afraid of truth anymore. I opened it when she left to get groceries. And what I found inside felt less like pages and more like confessions. She wrote about him. Not just memories. Fantasies. Plans. She missed his smell, his voice, his anger. She missed the way he made her feel, even when it hurt. Especially when it hurt. And then, a single line, scribbled in the margin of a page about our anniversary. Being with him felt like fire. Being with me feels like a sigh. I closed the journal, sat on the cold concrete floor of the garage, and I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because I finally understood. I wasn't the man she was healing from. I was the man she was using to heal for him. I was the in-between, the soft place to land before she ran back into the fire. I looked around the garage, half boxes, half memories, and realized there was nothing left worth holding on to. Not really. So I made my plan. One more week. One quiet goodbye. No note. No confrontation. No explanation. Just freedom. And maybe, just maybe, my own healing would finally begin. The last morning I spent in that house was a Tuesday. Clear skies, warm coffee, the kind of day that tries to convince you nothing is wrong. She was humming again. Something upbeat, something she probably played in her car on the way to him. I sat at the kitchen table, pretending to read the paper, watching her pour almond milk into her cereal. The same rhythm, the same habits. But I wasn't really there anymore. I was already gone. I'd signed the new lease the day before. A one-bedroom in a part of town she never liked. Too quiet, she once said. That was exactly what I wanted. Silence. Not the kind we used to have, where silence meant distance or secrets, but the real kind. The peaceful kind. She left for work with a kiss on my cheek, said she'd be late again. A team dinner. More healing, I guessed. I waited exactly 12 minutes after her car pulled out of the driveway. Then I moved. I didn't take much. A single duffel bag. A folder of documents. My laptop. A framed photo of my parents. The rest, the bed, the couch, the kitchen full of plates we picked out together, I left behind. Not because I didn't want them, but because they felt like lies dressed up as furniture. Before I walked out, I left one thing on the kitchen counter. Her journal. Open. Folded to that page. The one that said I felt like a sigh. I didn't need a letter. I didn't want her to think this was about making her feel bad. She didn't need more pain. She needed to sit in the truth she wrote with her own hand. And I needed to stop pretending I was the exception to her past. When she came home that night, I wasn't there. The lights were off. The house echoed differently. My closet was empty. My desk cleared. The drawers she never opened, silent. She texted, "Where are you?" Then again, "What's going on?" An hour later, "Please come back." But I didn't answer. I didn't need to. That night, I booked a cheap hotel room and stared at the ceiling until sunrise. Not because I was heartbroken. I wasn't crying. I wasn't even angry. I was just stunned. Not at her. At myself. At how long I stayed. At how deeply I wanted to believe that love could heal someone who wasn't ready to let go of their pain. At how I mistook my patience for strength, when really it was just fear of being alone. She kept calling the next day. Left voicemails, soft ones at first, then frantic. Then angry. "You didn't even say goodbye," one of them said. But that was the thing. She didn't deserve one. Because she never said goodbye to him. Not really. Not even when she swore she did. Not when she cried in my arms and told me I was the first man she felt safe with. Not when she looked me in the eye and promised she was done with the past. Her body might have left that relationship, but her heart never did. And I was just the detour. She reached out once more, a long email, pages long, full of apologies, explanations, grief. She said she never meant to hurt me, that she thought she could move on, that she really did love me, just not in the way I needed. That Eli was complicated, and being with him felt like coming home to chaos she didn't know how to live without. She said I was too kind, too steady, too good. Funny how being good to someone becomes the reason they leave. I didn't write back. Not out of spite. I just had nothing left to say. She'd already said enough. And somewhere in those pages, I think she finally understood what she'd done. Not just to me, but to herself. She thought healing meant finding someone soft to land on. But healing, real healing, means letting go of the thing that broke you. Not sleeping beside it. Not texting it late at night. Not carrying its memory like a sacred ache. Months passed. I moved into my new place. Smaller, quieter. I started running again. I picked up cooking. Badly at first. Burned eggs and oversalted pasta. But it was mine. My mess, my space, my life. And for the first time in a long while, I wasn't trying to fix anyone. I was just breathing. Sometimes people ask if I ever miss her. And I won't lie. Parts of her, yes. Her laugh. The The way she curled her toes when she was happy. The way she used to cry at movies and pretend she wasn't. I miss the version of her that I thought I knew. But I don't miss the truth I uncovered. I don't miss the weight of wondering. I don't miss loving someone who was still tangled in someone else's shadow. The greatest lie she ever told wasn't about Eli. It wasn't even in words. It was in the way she looked at me and made me believe I was the destination, when I was only ever a rest stop on her way back to the fire. Now I sleep through the night. No whimpers. No secrets humming behind bathroom doors. Just silence. Real silence. And I'm finally healing. For real this time.